All right, the Rebbe here is talking about the month of Adar. This is the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave 30 years ago, very shortly before he had a stroke that rendered him paralyzed, half paralyzed, and he couldn't speak anymore. So these speeches are considered to be, in a way, the sum total and the final instructions until the Rebbe reveals himself in this world as the Moshiach, and God brings the third temple down from heaven, and all of the Jewish people will immediately come to the Holy Land, and there'll be peace in the world and prosperity. And meaning and holiness. But meanwhile, we have to try to find meaning and godliness in everything that there is in the world. And especially this month is not so hard, because this month is the month of Adar. And the month of Adar, it says, is a lucky month for the Jewish people. And the Rebbe points out a lot of reasons why. And one of the main ones is that Moses was born in Adar. And Moses changed the whole face of reality. He brought the Torah down to the Jews. Excuse me. Well, he brought the Torah down into the Jews. And he was the one that built the tabernacle, which was the temple. It was the portable temple that went with him in the desert. When did Moses finish building this tabernacle in the desert? He finished it in the month of Adar. The first temple, the tabernacle was built in the end of the month of Adar. And it opened up on the first day of Nisan. That's what he says. This main revelation in the world of godliness was by means of the tabernacle in a way that it was set. If you remember, we said Adar means Aleph, Dar. Aleph is God. God is one, Aleph. And Dar means to dwell in the world. When did God dwell in the world? In the tabernacle, in the tent. When was the temple, was it open for business? The first day temple was open for business as the first day of Nisan. That's the 8th day of the inauguration days. There were 7 days of inauguration. That's the last days of Adar. And the first day the Holy Temple was open for business, that was on the first day of Nisan. That's when Nadav and Avihu rushed in improperly, etc. This was drawn down. Then they started what was called the 12 days of the Miluim. Then it was drawn down in the Mishkan by means of the 12 tribes of the Jewish people. The 12 days from Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the 12th day of Nisan. Every day, another leader of the tribes brought in, right? There were Yehuda and Reuven and Shimon and Levi. Levi didn't bring. But the Yosef was divided into 2 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. So there were 12 tribes, and every day one of them brought his inauguration offering. So it was exactly the same thing. When did that begin? When the tabernacle opened up, the first day of Nisan. This is stressed very more, the revelation of godliness by the 12 tribes. Because the 12 tribes, they also correspond to this Kabbalistic idea, which is called the 12 Sirufi Shem Hashem, the 12 different combinations of God's name. And God's name is Hovet, the creator. Sha'al Yadam, by means of this, is made time. If you take the letters of God's name, which are Yud and then Hey and then Vav and then Hey, and you make all the possible combinations that you can from them, it comes out to 12. You have Yud with the other 3 letters and etc. It comes out to 12 altogether. Because there's 2 letters that are repeated, so that minimizes the number. So anyway, it comes out to be 12. That 12, that's a source of time. 12 months of the year, and the creation of place. That's the 12, what's called Gevuli Alaksan, the 12, boundaries of space. 12. Something like a box. It says like a box, that a box has 12 edges to it, right? Make a box. You see that on the top there's 4 edges, on the bottom there's 4 edges, and the sides there's 4 edges to each side. So that's all the concept of time. That's what's called the 12, the 12 boundaries of Alaksan. Okay, that's one way of saying it. Hainu shegam b'gidrei olam, that this whole idea of time and place, which is numbered by the number 12, this is drawn down in the month of the 12 tribes that brought their offerings from the first day of Nisan. In the tabernacle, this gave blessing into time, 12 hours of the day, 12 hours of the night, and into space, what's called these 12 boundaries of place. So even in this is also drawn level of godliness, which is above the world. That's the whole idea of the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan, that's the month the Jews got out of Egypt. It's the month that the tabernacle was built. That's the language of a nes, nisim, miracles of miracles. Okay, so what's the Rebbe trying to do over here? What's the Rebbe trying to do? He's trying to do what Judaism is supposed to do, to bring God into every aspect of the world, to show the Creator in the creation, to show the purpose of creation in everything, time, space, people, numbers, colors, everything that there is in the world, you can link it up somehow or other to the Creator. That's the job of the Jews. That's what we say, that God is one. It's all part of God's oneness. But we have to reveal it in the world. That's the idea of Judaism, to show how important and amazing and miraculous this world is. And this world is where God gets his pleasure, so to speak. I don't know what that means, but that's what it says. God gets pleasure from the world. Adar says similarly, similarly it is the strengthening of the spiritual force, the luck of the Jewish people in this month. It says Adar bri mazli, that Adar, it has a healthy mazal, spiritual benefit for the Jews. This is attached to, first of all, the birth of Moshe. Moses was born in this month, and Moses is the entirety of the Jewish people. Just think about it. If there wouldn't have been Moses, the Jews would not have gotten out of Egypt. They wouldn't even stayed out of Egypt. When they got out of Egypt, they wanted to go back. Countless times. I mean, not countless, I guess you could, even though it says that the Jews says, you made me angry 40 times, it says in the Arba'im Shana Akut Bador, it says that the 40 years of troubles the Jews made for God. And Moses was the only one that kept strengthening them and encouraging them and reminding them who they are. When they got to the border of Israel, they said, we don't want to go in. The Jews refused to go in, and they didn't go in. They didn't go in. 40 years they wandered around in the desert because they didn't want to go into the land of Israel. And the generation that did go into Israel, they had to go in without Moses, because in that time when they were rounding around in the desert like a chicken with his head cut off, as they started complaining about the water, and Moses struck the rock, and God said, you're not going to go into Israel. So we see that Moses is the whole essence of the Jewish people, and Moses was born on the month of Adar, when the 7th day of Adar. We explained, if you remember before, 7 is 3 and 4. That's also this month, this year, it falls out on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 3rd and the 4th day of the week. His Gabrus Muslim Shal Yisrael, this strengthening of the spiritual forces, the luck of the Jewish people in the month of Adar, like it says, Mazli Bari, this is not just regarding to the source of the souls of the Jews, the mazel. This is not only regarding to the religious Jews and the Jews that will help us to get into heaven or help us, the religious Jews, to succeed. No, this is referring to every Jew, revealing of, not even every Jew, the revealing of God in the world. This is the soul as it is in this physical world. Kamudgash, like it's written in, that the word mazel means nozel, means to drip. That this is the source from which the soul drips life into the world. Ubamela, so therefore, he's gabers the mazal. If the mazal of the Jews is strengthened, it means this is the power of godliness which is dripping into the world. And that's the month of Adar. This causes a strengthening of the Jewish people, even when they are here in the physical world. Neshamas begufim, souls in bodies, and also when they are dealing with matters of the world. Kamudgash, like it says in what was the thing of the 7th of Adar? Adar, we said, makes a dira, a dwelling for God, dar, for the aluf, or for the aleph of the world, in the 7 days of creation. So it's a wonderful month for the Jews. And if it's good for the Jews, it's good for the whole world. Because the purpose of the Jews, right? Somebody said, I don't know who it was, Dostoevsky, I don't remember. So the Jews are the conscience of the world. The Jews are the conscience of the world, right? That's one of the reasons. I think we talked about this before. There's all these Holocaust centers and Holocaust memorials and the terrors of the Holocaust, and you can't be an anti-Semite because that's what the Nazis did. But ask yourself the question, why did the Germans hate the Jews so much? What do they have against the Jews? The Jews were big contributors to every aspect of life in Germany, right? They benefited the German people. According to one opinion, the reason that the Germans didn't get to the atomic bomb was because Hitler hated the Jewish physicists. And there were a lot of these Jewish physicists that they loved Germany. They loved Germany with all their heart and their soul. They loved Germany. All of a sudden, he comes up with this thing, we got to kill all the Jews. If he would have just kept quiet about the Jews, they would have had the atomic bomb, no problem. A lot of them really agreed with even Hitler's war efforts. They didn't look at it as killing people. They looked at it as, increasing. Germany was, Iberalis. It was the leading, philosophy and leading in intellect and in culture and everything. Something like Alexander the Great, right? He's going to conquer the world with culture, with what's it called? This there's a word for it. Anyway, with being civilization and right, not going to be barbaric. Like the Russians are barbaric. They're barbarians, and the Slavs are barbaric. The Germans killed like about 50 million people with their culture and their development and their intelligence and this. But for some reason, he hated the Jews. Why? Why did they hate the Jews? Maybe you can understand that they hated, everybody else because they wanted to take over. They wanted to take over them. And they hated the Russians because the Russians weren't Germans. They were foreign. They had a foreign language. But the Jews, especially in Germany, they spoke German. They changed their names. They changed their religions. They wanted to be like Germans. They became Lutherans. They became whatever they were. And Hitler hated them. He searched for people. If you're Bubba with your grandmother's grandmother, your grandfather, you're 1/16th Jew. Why? What's the problem? What did he hate the Jews for? What's the thing about the Jews? The Jews didn't look different. They didn't have a different color skin. They didn't have a different way of speaking. Why? What's the thing with the Jews? And he didn't just hate the religious Jews. Exactly the opposite. He hated the non-religious Jews more. He said they're like a cancer. They're making themselves similar to us, but they're really not. They're marrying our daughters. They're taking our jobs. The religious Jews kept away from all this. They didn't hate. He hated all the Jews, but especially he hated the non-religious Jews. So they're pretending that they're not Jews, right? What did he have against the Jews? So this is the answer. This is the answer. The Jews, whether they want to or not, whether they admit it or not, whether they agree with it or not, the fact of the matter is the Jews are God's representative in the world, and God is the creator. And the Nazis were destroyers. They posed as being, the creators, that were going to make a better world, and the world was going to be civilized. And it's just a stage. But the fact of the matter is they were excellent at destroying. They were masters of destruction. And that's why they hated the Jews. They couldn't stand the Jews because the Jews were God's representatives. The Jews wanted that there should be, even the Jews didn't know it, that every Jew is a representative of God, whether he knows it or not, whether he agrees or not, whether he opposes to it or not. That's the fact. And Hitler somehow or other knew this. He knew it. And somehow or other, all the Jewish people, the Germans knew it, and somehow the whole world knows it. That's why there's anti-Semitism in the world. Moshiach, of course, is going to change all this. He's going to make people realize that, God is pretty good, that God is good. And 99.99999% of the non-Jews will agree. They'll say, well, we didn't know this. Nobody ever taught this us, right? We'll agree. It says, Yifnu alecha kol rishei oretz. So if it's good for the Jews, it's good for the whole world. Kolomar, even though even though this level of mazel, and we said that the mazel of the Jews is strong in this month, even though that mazel is this essence of the soul, that's the ayin. That's what we said, that there's ein mazel Yisrael. That's the ayin. That's the godliness, which cannot be understood. This is the power of what's called Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice of the Jewish people, which is above understanding. And as we said before, that's really the theme of Purim. Self-sacrifice. I said it before, I'll say it again. The decree of Haman was to kill all the Jews. Lashmid la'rogo labedet kol Yehudim. It says in the book Torah Or, that's what we're learning in the morning. We'll learn that minor. We'll get close to Purim. Purim is in next month. There's 2 others this year. It says that the Jews realized that if they would just say, I'm not Jewish, any Jew that would declare, I am not Jewish, right? Take the mezuzah down from your door, put up a picture of Haman or whatever, just say those words, I'm not Jewish. He would be saved. There was no decree. The decree was only to kill the Jews. Anyone who would say, I'm not Jewish, it wasn't like Hitler that looked around and made examinations of a person's, in the past generations was Jewish. All a person had to do was say, I'm not Jewish. That's what the first Rebbe of Chabad says. He said there was not one Jew that even thought, the thought didn't even come up in his mind to say, I'm not Jewish. Not one Jew even thought. That's self-sacrifice. These Jews, they weren't warriors, and it was up to them, up to when Esther went into the king, she just got permission for the Jews to fight back. But even before that, it was forbidden for them to have weapons. But before that, right, when the decree came of Haman, right, the Jews were going to be killed, destroyed. And even after they had the right to fight back, they were still outnumbered, who knows, 500 to 1, 1,000 to 1. Nevertheless, there was not one Jew, man, woman, child, older people, elders, no one even, not that they didn't say, it says, the Alter said they didn't even think. It says. Why? This is what's called waking up the essence of the Jewish soul. Suddenly they thought, Haman wants to kill all the Jews. What did we do to him? We were his friends. We all went to the meal of Achashverosh. We were all together. We're not a threat to him. Why does Haman want to kill us? He wants to kill us because we're Jews. Suddenly they woke up, wow, I am a Jew. It just woke up everyone. And what is a Jew? Pure godliness. It's not understandable. Doesn't make any sense. There was absolutely no logic to that they refused to just say those 3 words. I'm not Jewish. That's all. And you would get out. Ani lo Yehudi. I don't know how you say it in Persian. Nevertheless, maybe it's 4 words, maybe it's 1 word. And whatever it was, they didn't say it. Insane. That's a Jew. Nevertheless, they had self-sacrifice, but nevertheless, it was in the world. The fact that they had this powerful identity suddenly, that they're Jewish, and it means more to them than anything in the world. Nimshach is drawn down, it was drawn down into everything in the world. We see in the end that they fought back and they destroyed all their enemies. And the Jews were not warriors. And the people that were around them certainly were. This gives the Jews the power to make a dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling in the lower worlds. Like it says in the Talmud, man de islay dina bahari nachri, a person that has troubles from a non-Jew, try to bring him to court in the month of Adar, because it's good luck. Shapul of these gabrus a mazel, that this good luck of the Jews is not only in relation to spiritual things, Torah, the commandments, but even in relation to matters of the world. Even to the matters with the non-Jews are making trouble for you. take it to court in this month. This month is a good month for the world physical things. Like it's expressed in the days of Purim, and that the miracle of Purim was that there was rescinded the decree of Haman, and they didn't have to sacrifice their lives anymore in order not to transgress Judaism. Adar, nafochu. It says that the Jews, they ruled over their enemies, because all of the non-Jews that wanted to kill them yesterday, as soon as the Jews won this battle, the fear of the Jews was on them. So automatically they were able to continue doing Torah and commandments in an easy way, in a happy way, or of simcha v'sasim v'yakar, light and joy and happiness and and preciousness, whether in a simple way or like the rabbis say, simcha, that's Yom Tov, etc. All of the 127 countries of the king, suddenly all the Jews were freed. And Mordechai, a Yehudi, he became the number 2 to the king, Achashverosh. But nevertheless, the miracle of Purim in the month of Adar is in a way that it didn't last. Akate, even now, of the Achashverosh Anan, we are still the slaves of Achashverosh. That's why we don't say Hallel in the holiday of Purim. Such a happy holiday, we don't say Hallel, the Hallel prayer. Why? Because right now, Shagam Achri Galus, even after the redemption and the miracles of Purim, we are still in Galus. We're still in exile. Not only that after the amazing miracle of Purim, and they built the second temple, nevertheless, the second temple was destroyed. And now we've been almost 2,000 years in a bitter, terrible exile. I'll call a Gezeros v'Shmiros on all the terrible decrees and the murders and the Holocaust and expulsions and pogroms. Rahman Islam, may God save us. It should never be again. Lo takum pa'amayim shor, there shouldn't be any more troubles. I mean, the people talked about the Holocaust, and the Rebbe said it's not going to happen again. But the Rebbe said it could happen. He said if the Germans or the Americans were given the chance, the Rebbe said, they said, do you think that the Holocaust could happen again? The Rebbe said, tomorrow. Said tomorrow it could happen. It's just, it's a miracle from God that it doesn't happen. And that in this course of the terrible exile, thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews, millions of Jews gave their lives in order to sanctify God's name. Mesiras nefesh, to be self-sacrificing with one. All those Jews that were killed in the Holocaust, they were killed holy. They're killed because they're Jews. No other reason. And the Rebbe said, it's a very long story, a very beautiful story, but the Rebbe said there was one Jew that he said that after the Holocaust he stopped putting on tefillin. And the Rebbe said, you're giving a gift to Hitler. You're giving a gift that's exactly what Hitler would want, that you should stop putting on tefillin. Any Jew that does not do Torah b'mitzvahs because of the Holocaust is giving a present to Hitler. And the Jew thought about it and he said, yeah, he's got a good point. What am I benefiting from not putting on tefillin? The only one that's benefiting is Hitler. That requires also a certain type of self-sacrifice. The main revelation of godliness in the world will be until then, we'll still be in exile, we're still servants and slaves of Achashverosh. What we're waiting for is the third temple to be built. Mikdash Hashem Konan Yodecha. The Geula Shlishis and the third redemption. Right? We got out of Egypt. That's the first redemption. The second redemption, we were in Babylon. We got out of there. And now the second temple has been destroyed. We're in the third exile. We're waiting for the third redemption. It says, V'yom Shlishi Yakameno v'nichya lefanav. It's in the prophecy of Hosea. On the third day, Then the third temple, that will be eternal. Geula Nitzchi, it's an eternal redemption. She'ein acharei galus, that there's nothing, no exile after it. This is relevant to the month of Nisan. In Nisan, we were redeemed, and in Nisan, we're going to be redeemed. Hopefully this Nisan, I hope before. Like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. Mishkan, that's when the tabernacle was stood up, right? After all the work of Adar, when they built the tabernacle and they finished it the last day of Adar, then the first day of Nisan was when it actually started working. And that's what it will be also the third temple. And the Shekhinah will rest. God's presence will be here. I mean, just imagine it. Just 1 second, if you imagine it. The third temple, it says, is going to come from heaven. So it'll come from heaven, right? And all the Arabs up there on the mountain where they have the tabernacle, their whatever it is, their big mosque are built. So they'll see this temple. Now, as far as I know, the Arabs are really, if the third temple comes down and the Moshiach comes, the Arabs will accept it in 1 second. No problem whatsoever. The Arabs will have absolutely no problem. One of the biggest, inspirations for the Arabs, and one of the biggest proofs, if you want to call it, from Islam, is that the Jews don't act like Jews. The Jews have abandoned Judaism. Sure, there are a few religious Jews, but even them also, they're, politics and things, confusion. The world is confused, which is not the case. The Muslims, the Muslims are sure. Here they have the Temple Mountain. Nobody's taking it away from them, right? Let them do it. But if the Jews were really acting the way they were supposed to, and they were really believing in God the way they were supposed to, is there would be a peaceful transition with absolutely no problem. Maybe the missionaries might be a little bit harder. Almost certainly, yes, but no problem whatsoever. So you can imagine, the third temple comes from heaven, right? It comes from heaven, and all the Arabs say, wow, here it is, third temple. This is really it, And Lubavitcher Rebbe says, that's it. The Moshiach is here. Everybody start realizing, Torah is true, God is true. The Arabs will say, listen, okay, we're sorry. We don't want to make any trouble. And they would leave. How it's going to be, it's going to fall and it's going to crush the I don't know what's going to be, but it's going to be. All of the Jews in the world, when they see this happening, then they're going to realize, well, this is amazing. Of course, there'll be certain groups that will protest, but it won't last that long. A miracle like that, no way you can explain it. No way you can explain it. And nowadays they have the surveillance cameras. Everybody's going to see. It came down from heaven. It's going to be in all the papers. In 1 second, all the Jews in the world will wake up. In 1 second, all of the Jewish people in the world will say, this is just wonderful. And all of the Arabs and everything are all happy. They're happy. They won't war with each other. There's going to be peace. Everybody's going to be where they're supposed to be. They'll be happy. The world will become a happy place. People will start to feel the Creator. They'll feel how lucky they are to be created. How wonderful it is to be created by the Creator of the universe, the God of Israel. That's what we're waiting for. That's what it says. Where do we have over here? Huh? Where is this? It says it should be. No, doesn't say. Oh, here it is. Just like the days of going out of Egypt, God said, I will show you miracles. What does it mean? The miracles that we're going to see in the future are going to make going out of Egypt like regular, right? What's going to happen in the future are going to be miracles, even in comparison to what happened when the Jews left Egypt with the plagues and everything. But now there's not going to be any plagues. It's going to be a happy, peaceful transition. The whole world is going to realize, as we say 3 times a day in our Aleinu prayer, Yifnu elecha kol rish'ei oretz. All the evil people in the world will suddenly turn to you, God. I imagine there'll be some diehards that will want to make trouble for the Jews, but it won't last that long. As we've seen a little bit already in the 6-day war, how we immediately, right? We saw in the Gulf War that Saddam Hussein said he's going to destroy the Jews, he's going to burn them all down. And this. He shot 39 missiles, direct hits. They were, and nobody was hurt. Not one Jew was hurt in Israel. Huh? We should see it right now. It should happen right now. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll do as much more of this wonderful ideas as we can. And now let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second. 1 minute. What did I do? No, I got the wrong. The Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, once summoned one of his young pupils, a young disciple of the Maggid. This was before he was a Rebbe, and he said, "Oh no, I see." The Alter Rebbe, when he became the first Rebbe of Chabad, he summoned a young disciple of the Maggid. Okay, and he said, "I have a mitzvah." I understand. The Alter Rebbe, he once summoned one of the pupils of the Maggid of Mezrich, an unmarried pupil of the Maggid, and he said to him, "I have the commandment of teaching to your children." The Alter Rebbe had children. "You have the commandment of providing for your family." Oh, he was a very. I'm sorry. Let's go again. The reason I'm sort of amazed here because the Alter Rebbe, he was the youngest of the pupils of the Maggid. But in any case, he was married, and this other fellow was married. The Alter Rebbe summoned one of the pupils, and he said, "I have a mitzvah of teaching to your children. You also have a mitzvah. You also have a family, and you have to provide for your family. I have to teach my children, and you have to feed your children. Let's make an exchange. I'll give you what you need to do your mitzvah of providing for your family, and you teach my children." And who's the son? The son later became the second Rebbe of Chabad. Then the Rebbe explained what it means. Then he took this man aside and he said, "Now I'm going to tell you how to teach the Torah. First thing you have to teach is Aleph base, the alphabet, Aleph base. What is an Aleph? An Aleph is a dot on the top, a dot on the bottom. Do we have a picture? You know what an Aleph looks like, right? Let's see, do we have a Hebrew? Oh, here we have Hebrew letters. Here we go. See the letter Aleph. Let's do this thing right there. Oh, here we have an Aleph. The letter Aleph, right here's an Aleph. The letter Aleph, here, Adar. Oh, here there's a little point on the top, see? And a little point on the bottom, and a line in between. That's the letter Aleph, right? That's how the letter Aleph looks. A point on the top. Here's a better one. Point on the top, a point on the bottom, and a line between. So that's the Aleph. What is the letter Aleph? The letter Aleph is Aleph bait. What is an Aleph? An Aleph is a dot on the top, a dot on the below, and a line between. That's an Aleph. A child has to know the Aleph, the beginning of the Torah, is a Yud on the top, a Yud below, Yud on the top means God. Yud on the top, that's God. The Yud below, that's a Jew. And the line of faith that joins the two of them. Another version of what he said was the Yud on the top, that's the soul of a Jew. The Yud below is the body of a Jew. And the line between that joins them is the fear of God. That's in the middle. That's what joins your Jewish identity to your Jewish body, your physical life in this world, is the fear of God. Fear of God. Wanting to do what God says. Have a good day with Moshiach now. God willing, at 3:00 we'll learn Chumash with explanations.